Alright, hey everyone, the castle here. I want to apologize. I haven't been doing my vlogs as often as I want to be able, I want to be able to do them. It's just mainly because I've been getting distracted with actually working, but I've also a little bit of partying, a little bit of fun and everything like that. It's actually always a blast to work on VRChat content. Um, there's a lot to really unpack when it comes to talking about VRChat in general, but one of the main things that I really want to kind of harp on at the moment is that I really don't like the way Unity's visibility culling system works. But to me, it seems like it's very ineffective for what I need. Which, fine. I mean, whatever. Like, I can explain what I actually had to do and the main things that really started to get on my nerves about the system is that I have to kind of jump through hoops in order to do what I want to do, and I'm gonna show this off actually in a second. So this is a nightclub. This is a real life nightclub that I used to go to. It was my stomping ground for a really long time, many years ago, and it's very dear to me. And actually, uh, I think that it's probably something I should have taken up a while back to actually have begun building this nightclub. And some of the things that come up while hanging out in this nightclub are pretty interesting. The VR chat content that I released in the last two videos, you might think, oh, this is just somebody, cracking fart jokes or being, silly and immature in VR chat, like cringe, right? But the thing is, though, is that there's actually something a lot more underlying here. I actually view VR as, in general, not just VR chat, but VR in general as a life-changing, paradigm-shifting thing. I don't think that this is just a small thing. It's actually very dear to me, and the reason why you'll probably continue to see videos, even weird videos, stuff that's probably going to be a bit strange. I have some crazy stuff to show, but it's actually an entirely different culture. It's something that's gone a lot farther than the opposites of the standard culture. I don't know why I decided to use that word. I think I probably fucked it up. But I guess it's auspice. Okay, anyway, I don't know why I decided to use that. So anyway, the thing is though, this is this is a really big deal, and building an actual nightclub that I used to hang out in is a really, I don't know, man. Something about this has really clicked with me. It it's really cool, and I'm kind of hoping that in some ways that actually use this to kind of gauge just how life changing this really is. I am actually hoping that in some ways, like as I get this world to be further along, make the bars actually look like bars, actually update the counters so that the counters actually look like counters, and just like the stuff that really exists in the actual real life version of the club. Um, since I had such a social existence in this place, and I knew so many people and hung out with so many people back then, um, it would be really interesting to see if I can get some of those people back to actually hang out in virtual reality. Now think about that for a moment. Like that right there is more than just a simple, you know, uh, game with a bunch of meme jokes and whatever. This is actually something that's sort of changing the dynamics of socializing in the real life world. And one of the things that was actually really entertaining last night while I was hanging out, we were actually hanging out in this club for a little while, is that is that oh, you know what? We should go to the real club in real life. We should all get together and go back to Dallas, Texas, and come to this club in real life again. And I was thinking, yeah, that would be really awesome. This isn't just a simple thing for me, and um, try to look through the lens like of all of the immaturity and things or strangeness that you might be watching in the other videos. Look behind the scenes. Look what's going on underneath, because even while I'm running around cracking these silly jokes and people are playing sound effects or whatever, there's actually a lot more going on there. This is something that I view as being uh, well, I've already explained it as being life changing, but humor is one of the best ways to convey something is one of the best ways to break the ice. It's one of the best ways to kind of talk about things in depth and sort of normalize people's thoughts and on like all kinds of different topics and things of that nature. I mean, it's how humans work. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not personally trying to normalize anything or anything like that. What I'm talking about though is that how humans, human um, psychology and things of that nature. And I really, I really, I really can't convey everything properly off the top of my head right now, other than maybe it's because I'm trying too hard at the moment. So let's delve back for a moment and talk a little bit about the occlusion culling in the Unity engine. Which one of the things in VR in a virtual environment is that I am in a virtual environment where the game's entire purpose is socializing. I don't actually care if people's avatars render and suddenly pop into view while they were right in front of me. Now, I understand that that could be, immersion breaking to some extent, but that's really not what the immersion's for. The immersion for the immersion is really for getting people together in certain areas, and then people kind of break off into different circles, and they can go over there. While they're over there, they're having another conversation. Only the people who are relevant to you are usually the ones that you really need to be kind of uh, uh, communicating with, or they're the ones that are relevant at that moment. And there's actually a lot of different techniques that could be utilized. And one of the techniques that I utilized with the Castle Box, which is a box map for VRChat that I developed, that allows for people to not render when they go out of a certain, outside of the platform that you're currently standing on. I'm taking that entire concept and I'm moving it much further along. I'm actually developing um, these spaces to be much more complex and much more built into a real actual world, and not just some box map, but an environment that is actually relevant, an environment that actually holds some weight in some way, shape, or form. Now, there are a lot of things that I'm having to jump through hoops for in order to be able to continue this technique, because Unity's occlusion culling is far from ideal. At this point in time, I'm going to just come out right now and say it's kind of shit. But it's workable. It's something that I can utilize for the techniques that I need to apply. Now, I have like so many ideas on like maybe even um, maybe I'll even extend the club further and include the other half of the club. This is a really big nightclub. It's actually two clubs combined into one club. It's quite amazing actually. So like one of the things is like you would come down here, you would go through here. There's a little back room over here for people to hang out, maybe have another mirror and a bar here, which then there's another smaller um, area on this side, which is another dance area right here with a DJ booth on this side, and then the outside area on the balcony. Which I probably don't want to try and model all of Dallas, Texas, but a lot of the biggest city buildings are visible from this balcony. So it's a really amazing place in general, and a lot of the small changes that I'm making right now, like I'm probably gonna roll back on some of this. Like this isn't brick, this is actually a balcony up here, and the same for down here as well. At first, it was just to have something in place to make it look like it wasn't just a fall off where you can just fall, but I need to get a little bit more in terms of the art assets and things of that nature. I I am currently at the moment though trying to get the occlusion to work, and I think I have what I need at this point in time. Now you'll see that the camera is now hitting the camera is now hitting the walls that I have created on the other mesh. So basically what I do is I make this mesh visible in the editor. I compile my visibility set while this is the object that is visible. And then I have to make sure that the actual art, the cool looking thing that you're looking at right now, actually make this look as though actually make it so that this does not cull. So there is no, it's not an occludee or an occluder. Okay, and most of the things that will be placed will not be occludees either. Uh, Actually, I don't know. I might make them occludees. So the actual visual level, the visual world, is basically just always rendering. And the people, once you cross these lines, these barriers, these sort of, you can see right here, once they cross these lines, that's when your friends will begin rendering in the next area, right? So what I'm thinking is that I'm probably going to include like a little visual cue of some sort that uh, that is on the floor, like a little red strip or a little thing like that, for wherever these barriers actually exist, so that they have to be subtle in order for it to work correctly. But basically, what they do is they indicate to the player, oh, okay, I have to walk past this point, or I have to stick my head past this point in order to be able to see to the other side. It's kind of interesting because, like, when you walk up to this balcony up top here, like, if you put your head just a little bit forward, which is very easy to do in VR, it immediately negates this rendering wall, and you can actually see everybody that's downstairs, right? But you might not be able to see everybody that's inside of these little side areas over here. And one of the problems that I ran into, and this is really annoying, and it's going to make things very difficult for me to help Raven out with this map, Club Myth as well, um, is that it would have been a lot easier if it was just possible for me to drag out a bunch of cubes for the visibility culling and then just hide them. But the engine is just so garbage when it comes to this that I ran into like many different problems trying to do it that way. So it seems like the only way for me to actually do this is to build a mesh. And one of the most interesting problems that drives me crazy about this is that the occlusion culling system within the Unity engine, guess what? It doesn't know how to handle if you have a closed off space. So it'll crash the render. It'll crash the compiler. Basically, it'll freeze forever if I don't have air getting into this space in some way. So if you look at the actual mesh that I compiled, I left the roof. I left the roof on, with no polygons, so that it thinks that okay, these can all see each other. And then I left, and then I made sure that the compiling zone is not as tall as the roof. And in the case of the floors, I actually had to drag down the floor and then cut down the bottom part in order for it to be able to be happy and not crash the compiler because these are separate spaces. This is understanding like one of the many important things for a compiler to understand is whether or not a space is actually a valid place, right? It usually just sort of does like a little flood fill to determine whether or not there's actually like a gameplay specific objects within that world, like a teleporter or something of that nature, something that has to be actually indicative of a proper a gameplay related object where it would make the compiler say, okay, I need to actually take this area seriously. The Unity compiler just crashes. While the more serious, the more well-developed compiling tools, such as something developed by somebody like John Carmack or something of that nature, is actually will actually do this in a much more intelligent way, and it knows how to handle that. Even a point light, for example, would be a pretty good indication that maybe this is a valid area that you should take seriously. But no, Unity crashes instead, making this entire process much more complicated for me to achieve. Look at this. You can't just drag out a bunch of cubes because the cubes' transforms are going to be fucking messed up if you try to parent them to another object so that you don't have to actually go through and manually select every single cube. With this, it's a singular object and it achieves everything that I need it to achieve for now. Eh. So in the environment of virtual reality, I actually think that having some kind of a visual indicator indicating that there are people out here and then you can walk over here and then it actually calls them is actually a really big deal. I don't think that 99%, I'd probably have to say that probably none, not one of the actual maps built for VRChat utilize a real form of occlusion culling because this shit is trash tier. It is trash tier. I am guaranteeing you that you can stick your head through any wall and probably see people running around and doing all kinds of shit all the way across any map you decide to play at any point in time. And if somebody figures out how to put wireframe on, they could probably spy on your ass while you're in a private room. Ugh, this stuff is garbage. So, yes, at least I'm able to actually make it work, which is a good thing. I'm pretty happy about that. And I have to say that, yeah. Now, with that said, I will be getting back to, well, I'm going to be getting back to X Alive. I'm just taking a break at this point in time. I know that there's a big Halloween party. I want this to be a world where we can have a nice big Halloween party. Kind of gather as many people together and everything like that. That's why I'm utilizing this world as a way to be as optimized as possible, so that I might actually publish it as a Halloween party, Zombiedoll Lounge kind of a thing. Now, I'm thinking that I'm probably going to have this very, far enough along at least for that uh, by then. Uh, when I begin the X Live scripting and everything like that, the gameplay scripting, um, I'm going to be, refreshed, and I've already, I'm working on I'm working on something else right now. The only other thing at the moment is that I need to get Zombie Doll's avatar updated so that it actually fits her full body tracking um, thing. I can show her avatar briefly. Um, I have restructured her, and yes, I did spell lounge wrong. It sucks. I have restructured her outfit and gave her um let's see, there's no bunny tail, there's glasses, horns, necklace. Yeah, no bun. I've been lucky to have a lot of help in terms of being able to get things, further along and everything like that, and be able to fix things. But once again, the Unity engine is just not a great tool. It if I change the scale of the model and rescale things or something like that, there's an object called the animator, which then holds on for dear life and will not allow me to modify the transform of the mesh itself when I'm trying to get her arms and legs to fit her actual real her real physique. Which, I mean, whatever. Like, it's mostly there right now. Um, the avatar is looking pretty good, and I have a lot of hope for it to be able to perform as well as it needs to. But I'm probably going to take just a little bit more time to work on this. So, with that said, all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably have a different video talking a little bit more about something else very soon. Maybe focused a little bit more on what my plans are for X Alive. And I was actually also thinking whether or not it'd be nice if I had a tutorial on how to do the icon thing. It's actually something that maybe people should know because it's easier to do the icons than I was thinking it would be. And I should probably at least kind of go through the basics on how it's done and sort of just show, okay, these nodes connect to these nodes, and that's why these are doing this, and that's why these are, those are doing that, and just sort of explain that in a very basic way. But, um, oops, I don't know, that was kind of loud. With that said, all right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end this video, and everything like that, and yeah, expect to see some more content. Well, I'm gonna try and be a little bit more regular about everything. Sorry about that. I've just been kind of having fun. I've been relaxing. I've been enjoying this, and I really need to get back to streaming. I need to get back to being more regular with the content that I'm always working. I'm always working. It's not like I'm being lazy or anything like that. It's just that I never record myself actually doing the things that I'm doing. But I'm pretty sure that there probably are people who would be interested in seeing what's going on and actually um, and further in-depth analysis of virtual reality is probably something that I should probably begin talking about as well. I really do find it to be just an absolutely amazing thing, and I probably will never be going back to living without virtual reality. At least, on the outer edges, no matter where I live or what I'm doing. Ah, it's just a great time to be alive. It's an interesting time. Take it easy, everyone, and see you at the next one.